Thank you very much, Steph, and good afternoon, everyone. We have 4 notes for you today, and we will be done so that you have your briefing, which is coming after this. The President of the General Assembly, Mr. Dennis Francis, presided this morning, and he's still presiding. In fact, he went back to the GA Hall over the start of the plenary meeting on the necessity of ending the economic, commercial, and financial embargo by the United States of America against Cuba. This agenda item 38, containing the report of the Secretary General and the draft resolution, and I think you received the links this morning. So this meeting will continue tomorrow morning, 2nd of November, and a vote is expected towards the end of the debate. A list of speakers has been published online, was shared with you, and of course, as of this morning, there were 52 speakers inscribed. So this afternoon, the GA will hold the 25th plenary meeting on the report of the International Criminal Court. This is the continuation of the debate on item 74, and action on the draft resolution is also expected towards the end. There are 3 speakers left to deliver remarks on the list, and immediately after this meeting, the emergency session, the 10th emergency special session, I should say, will resume. On that list, there are 40 inscribed speakers to deliver their remarks after the resolution entitled Protection of Civilians and Upholding Legal and Humanitarian Obligations, ESS 10/21, was adopted on Friday at the GA Hall. So this morning, the PJ issued a post on his X social media account stating that he is gravely concerned about the further escalation of violence and hostility in the Middle East. Mr. Francis said that the leaders have the power to stop the violence and to prevent further escalation and civilian deaths. He strongly condemned and rejects, yet again, any indiscriminate targeting of innocent civilians and the scale of destruction of critical infrastructure. President Francis has recorded a message to mark the International Day to End Impunity for Crimes Against Journalists, which is marked tomorrow, the 2nd of November. The commemoration is led by UNESCO, and this year's observance seeks to raise awareness on the main challenge faced by journalists and communicators in the exercise of their profession, especially women journalists. Worldwide, since 1993, more than 1,600 journalists have been killed for reporting the news and informing the public. The PJ's message will be released later today in its entirety on his YouTube channel, which is www.youtube.com/UNPJ78. And last but not least, today is the last day to apply for the President of the General Assembly Fellowship Program. Candidates will come to New York from developing countries, particularly least developed countries, landlocked developing countries, and small island developing states for training, mentorship, and immersion in the work of the United Nations. Successful candidates will be notified in late November, so this month, and they are expected to arrive in New York mid-January 2024. And probably, as you noticed before, my phone is working this time, so we will be getting the messages from colleagues on the screen. But I start here. Do you have any questions for today? Okay, so I go, yeah, Maggie, how are you?
Sorry, Monica, if you said it and I didn't catch it. What time do you expect the vote on the embargo, the Cuba embargo? Because there's 53 speakers. So.
That's true. 52 inscribed, right? It will be tomorrow when the session resumes towards the end of the debate. So you have 3 countries to speak towards the end, and the resolution will be introduced by the representative of Cuba. Mm-hmm. Anything else? Okay, Mr. Fano.
Monica, it's about the resolution voted on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
It's a non-binding resolution, right?
Correct.
Okay. Could you explain more than to us, for the people maybe that listen, what that expression exactly, not binding, will mean?
Sure. And I think Ephraim, who is here, he asked the same question last Friday. It's an important point, Stefano. As you know, resolutions by the Security Council are legally binding. So countries have the responsibility under international law to implement what is decided, right? When it comes to the General Assembly, the resolutions are not legally binding. But this doesn't represent or cannot be interpreted that they are not important. They are a strong political message to the world how member states in the United Nations, in this case, the General Assembly, the largest democratic body in this House, 193 member states, position themselves and feel about certain topics and issues, right? So what happened Friday was the expression of the majority of member states which approved and adopted a resolution. And now, as we said again, sometimes I feel like I'm sorry if I'm repeating the same line, but it is important. Now the resolution is expected to be implemented, and member states are expected to abide by the resolution. So we are not disputing it. It is the way the organization, the charter, is formed. The Security Council, legally binding. The General Assembly, not legally binding, but not less important.
Just a
Sure.
quick follow-up. There's maybe an opinion more than a question.
Sure.
Is humiliating for the United Nations, no, to pass a resolution like the one on Friday and then see what happened the next day and the next day. So would it have been for and this, I don't know if it's to do with the President of the General Assembly, but would it have been better to propose to vote a resolution in General Assembly that talks about the necessity of the Security Council to pass a resolution and to hurry up? Means passing a resolution and say, Security Council has to pass a resolution, then instead passing a resolution that basically doesn't have any weight.
Well, I think member states who were working on the draft resolution, and we will recall that in order for this ESS, Emergency Special Session, to be resumed, there was, of course, a request by several member states in different letters, right? And then a resolution was drafted and tabled and introduced and put to a vote. So I think a work was done. As I heard from many colleagues, action was taken. The General Assembly decided to take action upon the resolution. We all reported on how countries vote, or voted, I should say. And it's a matter now of the resolution to be implemented. But even, I would say, even before that, the world has heard what the General Assembly had to say. And I think this is not to be, it's very telling. It's not to be taken for granted. If member states gather together in that chamber and make a decision, they are transmitting and conveying a message to the world. What you suggest is probably something that can be reflected upon or reflected on by member states. It's, as you said, is your opinion, and it's important, so we are listening to this. Right now, as you say, perhaps, I don't know, in the future, that will be the topic of one resolution. But right now, that's what we have in our hands. Since these attacks happened on 7th October, I think we should not forget the timeline of this. We are here today talking about that because on the 7th of October, Israel was attacked by Hamas. 1,400 people got killed, butchered. And then there was a response. And now we have thousands killed by this response. So it is a timeline that you should not forget. I know as journalists, we get involved with what is most pressing and the images and everything, but this started on the 7th of October. the last wave or the latest wave of violence, the resumption of violence, it started with an attack. With an attack. We all remember the images. Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, just building on that, the fact that the General Assembly rejected Canada's amendment that would have specifically called out Hamas and specifically condemned Hamas's terrorist attack, doesn't that undercut the moral authority of the General Assembly, which is only charged to make recommendations, as you said, non-binding? So why should those countries who feel that the General Assembly fell short of what it should have done, as you just did, to call out the terrorist attack on October 7th, why should they be expected to abide by and take the Jordan resolution seriously?
Listen, I have the amendment here. Yeah, since last week I have both documents. Yeah, you are absolutely right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 lines, 1 short paragraph. That was put to vote, Joe, and that was a decision of the General Assembly. So I am not here to question the decision of the General Assembly. It's a sovereign body, a democratic body. Of course, whenever there is a vote, and that's not only in the General Assembly, in our lives as citizens, some people will be disappointed by the result. But a decision was made, and this has to be, respected.
But I may be belaboring the point, but I really need to nail this down.
Sure.
Because, as you pointed out, there's a difference between when the Security Council passes a legally binding resolution, particularly under Article 7, General Assembly only makes recommendations. But yet you said that the member states, all the member states, you use the word, are expected to abide by the resolution that was passed. And what I'm asking you is, why should some countries who fundamentally disagree with the outcome of rejecting the Canada amendment and yet passing Jordan's resolution, why shouldn't they be free to just disregard it?
Okay. I think that's a question that you have to pose to the member states. But I have to say something here, and I feel that I should have said last week, but it's never late. The resolution was introduced by Jordan and co-sponsored by dozens of member states. But once the resolution is approved and adopted, is a GA resolution. So it's not a Jordan matter now, or the dozens of co-sponsors, is a GA resolution. And so it should be called, okay? But thank you so much, I appreciate your question. Hey, I see Jordan, are you there? So we have a
Yes, I'm there.
journalist,
I just want
Jordan. Okay, go ahead, Jordan. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I just, I really feel sad that, who told you that the General Assembly resolution are not binding? This is very binding, and I just want to refer you to that. Israel was established by a General Assembly resolution. So General Assembly resolution are equally binding as the Security Council. The only difference is there is Chapter 7 in Security Council. This is what you just said, absolutely wrong. I want you to refer me, as a journalist, I'm asking you, because you're responsible for what you just say, live on camera, that yes, correct, General Assembly resolution are not binding. They are binding, and if it's not binding, please let us know so we could report on them. Thank you so much.
No, and thank you for taking part in the briefing. I think the most important word here is legally binding. Legally binding. We know that.
It's legally binding, Monica. It's legally binding.
Exactly.
Okay,
Well,
I just have to correct that.
I will
All
leave you-
international lawyers, scholars have said and agreed with Monica that General Assembly resolutions, the budget, of course, is binding, but otherwise resolutions are not legally binding.
No,
They're recommendations.
Okay, Joe, so
And-
then Israel is not-
No,
it's not a
sorry,
country
one,
anymore.
sorry, Jordan. Just a moment.
And the fact that you brought up that the General Assembly recommended a partition of Palestine, Israel accepted it. obviously, the neighboring Arab countries not only did not accept it, they attacked Israel upon
Okay.
its creation. So
Okay.
I don't think your precedent
Listen.
is very relevant.
No, listen, no, thanks. No, everybody, this is a democratic space. Everybody has the right to speak, and we are here to listen to everybody. However, let's be clear when it comes to rules of procedure, and let's be clear when it comes to words. Words in this organization matter. As a matter of fact, they matter everywhere. So we do have, thanks, we do have the expression legally binding for the Security Council, and this doesn't, and I said that, perhaps you came a little bit later, that doesn't matter, that doesn't mean, it shouldn't be interpreted that what is decided in the General Assembly is important, and as I used an expression on Friday, being a little bit creative, but it is what I said, they are morally binding, but this is my expression. So I would say thank you very much to all of you. I know you have a briefing right now, but again, the PJ has stressed his appeal. It hasn't changed since 7th of October for the cessation of violence, for the release of the hostages, and for the much urgent need of aid to Gaza Strip to be delivered. And he stands by that. Thank you very much, everybody.